Hello and welcome to the Old Man Orange Podcast. I'm Spencer Scott Holmes, bringing you another Old Man Orange Presents Via VHS episode. One of them from the rarities vault that we have from back in the day that just never got put out. So come join us for another fun-filled retro movie review. Let's jump on in.
So in this episode of Via VHS, we're looking back at the 1985 children's comedy, The Dirt Bike Kid.
The Dirt Bike Kid. It's a Roger Corman movie practically because it's got like his wife is the one producing it. That was like the weirdest thing when I saw that. It's like, wait a second, is that lady related to Roger Corman? It's like, oh, it is.
Oh my God, I didn't even notice that.
So like, what was her name? It was I think Julie Corman. Yeah. And it was just one of those ones that's like, oh, that's interesting. And then I kind of even looked up later. I'm like, oh, she produced all kinds of like interesting movies. You know, definitely a lot of like Roger Corman-esque films. But, you know, beyond that, though, there was just a bunch of these like, you know, horror movies and what have you. And even things like Brain Dead in like the 90s and whatnot, if I remember correctly. But interesting stuff, I thought, for a fact that this is like the ultra, like, you know, this is almost like every kid's fantasy. Even probably nowadays kid, as long as they like enjoyed like the great outdoors and what have you. The fact that like you get a motorcycle that's not only a sweet motorcycle and whatnot, you can, but it flies and it helps you out and it saves the day and it's full of magic and some old guy walks out from behind a tree and tells you how great it is.
This movie, okay, it is a kid's fantasy because the movie plays out and is structured and is edited and everything like a kid's fever dream because this movie is weird. This movie kind of disturbed me at sometimes. I think, you know, we just reviewed BMX Bandits. Mm-hmm. And what BMX Bandits was exceeded my expectations. This movie is what I thought BMX Bandits was going to be.
You know, I got to say this. Speaking of BMX Bandits, when I was watching this, I was like, he has his bicycle that he trades in for the motorcycle, and it's a BMX bike, too. So I'm like, okay, well, maybe it's just one of those ones where, like, where I grew up at, just there wasn't enough BMX bikes, but maybe if you're in certain, like, cities and so on, like, there was BMXing in the 80s and, like, you know, the U.S. a little bit more commonly. And then when I started thinking about it more, I'm like, I remember Slash from Guns N' Roses in his book said that he was riding a BMX bike around L.A. when he was like a kid. He was like, I'm either going to be a guitar player or a BMX rider.
And then the 80s happened. They're like, these don't have motors. These don't have engines. And then that's, you know, that started the dirt bike craze. Dude, this movie, I don't even know where to start, really. I guess I'll just kind of give a synopsis real quick of what this movie's about. It goes off on a weird direction that I thought it was even going to go. The movie's about, it stars Peter Billingsley from A Christmas Story, which, heads up, I hate that movie. I hate that movie. So I really wanted to like this one because so far the only thing I really like Peter Billingsley in is the couple Marvel movies he's been in. Mm-hmm. That's pretty much it. And he's really not much of anything in though. He was in Iron Man and the new Spider-Man, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. He's the guy. He's like the guy that helps Jake Gyllenhaal's character. Anyways, way off. But his mom gives him money for groceries, gives him $50 for groceries.
I just love how he's like, oh man, I gotta go down to the local, like, it's almost like he's going down to go bet like the horse races with this $50. It's like, oh, the local motocross is in town, let me go on down there. And then of course he meets like his buddy who's like just like the hustler friend. He's like, hey, what's going on, buddy? He's like, I'm checking out the view. He pulls up his binoculars. It's like, what's he looking? He's looking at the one girl just jumping up in the air with like the big boobs bouncing, just like, oh, yep, there's that kid right there. Everybody knew a kid like that. I like how he's wearing a Hawaiian shirt and everything too. Just kind of like surprised. He's probably like, you know, selling smokes there at the motocross.
So yeah, okay. So the friend's name is Bo, and Bo is what they'd say here in 2020. Now that we've become, I guess, more aware of things, I guess they'd call him problematic because Bo is all about the ladies. And the thing is, the whole, you know, joke of, you know, horny young adolescent has been done over and over. So it's not weird that they did that, but it just didn't fit in this movie. And that was like the first thing that's just like, what's going on?
Well, it was an odd joke for like, I mean, this movie must be PG, not G, but still, one of those ones was like,
yeah, it was like, are we in a kids movie? Like, it worked in Stand By Me. Like, they go to the clubhouse and everybody's reading.
That movie's rated R.
Oh, that movie, yeah, you're right.
So,
it just felt weird. It just was very uncomfortable. But Peter Billingsley takes his $50 that his mom gives him for groceries.
Like, literally, this is all we have to survive, honey. Do not blow it on something stupid.
Good point. It's their last $50 because she's in between jobs. Like, he's not helping Peter Billingsley's not helping with chores. Let me just clear this up. This kid, they try to make it like, he gets the things that he gets later on. He's a good kid. He's not. He's actually a pretty shitty kid. He
starts off, it's just him staring at the TV, just laying there, like, eating a Hershey's bar and, like, chips all at the same time and just being like, yeah. And mom's like, hey, son, Earth the sun, like, waving at him and just staring there like, motocross. Like, he's just like some drug-fueled child. Well, she literally even has to come and, like, clip the power cable, which sounds very dangerous with, like, scissors, to get him to listen.
Yeah, he's kind of days off. He's obviously obsessed with motocross and dirt bikes. And so his mom's like, hey, here's $50 because you seem responsible. Let you take our last bit of money and go down to the grocery store, buy groceries. He says, no, I'm going to the BMX track. And what ends up happening is there's this douchebag friend of his who's got a dirt bike, and it's clearly better than the other dirt bikes, but he's treating it like crap. He's kicking it. He's got it caked with mud. And this weird guy comes from behind a tree.
They're like, hey there, Sonny.
And if you think I'm being like short, like if you think I'm like setting this up and like I'm skipping parts, no. In the movie, he's like, wow, that's a cool dirt bike. And this guy comes behind the tree. Did you know it's a magic dirt bike?
Yeah.
Did you know?
Makes all your dreams come true.
It makes all your dreams come true.
Jack, you want a magic dirt bike, don't you, Jack? I know you do.
I got some dirt bikes in my van if you want to come.
Got all kinds of dirt bikes.
It's just weird. The whole setup of this movie is very, very odd. So long story short, he gets this dirt bike. He creates a bond with the dirt bike in a very seductive scene where he's taking off the mud.
It's like in slow motion, 80s montage.
Yeah, and then like the fenders like raise up slowly, and he's like, "What?" It'd
be only weirder if he was sitting on the fender and then it raised up, and he's like, "Oh!" Just like looking like, "Oh my god, what is going on in this film?"
Yeah, the movie kind of gets like the first 10 minutes of this movie, like all the things I mentioned. Like all the story I set up is like less than the first 10 minutes of the movie. Like it's just really, really fast paced at first. And you're like, what's going on? Why? And like all of a sudden this kid's got a magic dirt bike. He doesn't deserve it. His friend's a pervert.
Yeah.
It's just the whole thing is odd. But it's essentially about this kid being, he doesn't have a father, which they kind of touch on later in the movie. His father passed away, I think. And he's looking, for confidence. So it's like E.T., but instead of an alien, he gets a dirt bike.
Yeah.
And, it's that same idea, that same film, that, Short Circuit.
Short Circuit was the one that really kind of reminded me of a lot too.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one of those, kind of coming of age story, and like he has a friend. It's a magic friend. But this case, it's just it's kind of an asshole dirt bike.
Well, and then the dirt bike's like really like, it's like the jerk off Johnny type character where he's just like breaking rules and like doesn't have any care, tax people, just like breaks and enters. Like literally this dirt bike is setting up this kid for an even worse lifestyle. It's like that friend would be like, come on, man, just do it, dude. Well, I don't know if I want to. It's just a little cocaine. Like, come on, you're not a man? We can't handle it? Like, well, your dad was a man? Well, I want to be like my dad. Well, be like your dad, do it. Just motorcycle's going to be peer pressure him and all kinds of goofy stuff. Even when he first gets the motorcycle takes off down the road at like 90 miles per hour and the police are chasing him. And then when he goes to pull over, the motorcycle's like, fuck this. takes off again. Outrun the police.
Where I thought this film was going, and I thought would have been extremely interesting, is you find out later that the bike isn't alive or magical, and this kid's just batshit crazy, and he's doing all this stuff. That's where I thought the film was going to go. But after the setup of the movie, I'm like, oh, because I didn't look anything in. I didn't watch any trailers or anything.
Yeah, I saw nothing except for the cover. That was it.
Yeah. It's like, oh, it's the kid from Christmas Story, and he's got a dirt bike. I'm in. So I was like, where's this going to go? It's going to be like, oh, some kid's bullying him, and he's like, you suck, and he's like, I'm going to enter a race and beat you, and then he and the bike have to bond, and they break up for a minute, and they get back together, and they win the race at the end. That's what I thought it was going to be. It was going to be that kind of thing. No, there's this whole plot about a hot dog stand and a greedy banker, and they start developing that. And I was like, this movie, what is this?
Well, there's the guy that runs the hot dog stand who's also like the coach of like the Little League team and what have you. And this is like the guy who just like somehow, some way, he scrounged up probably like, you know, his parents died and then they left him some money. And he's like, well, you know what I'm going to get? I'm going to get a hot dog stand. But I want to make it like as 10-year-old friendly as possible. That's like his only clientele is children. And he just lets them do whatever. It's like he almost has no business skill, no management. I don't know what he really makes there if he feeds them or anything like that. I mean, the kids are in there. They're just having like a food fight. And he's just sitting there like, you know, no big deal. Even when he coaches Little League, he's like, doesn't even know the words to say. And the kids are almost like telling him what's up.
Yeah, see, all the people that we're supposed to care about in this movie suck. Like, they don't like, we're like, hey man, you deserve this because you're a good person. Yeah, but you don't because you suck. So there's that whole thing going on. But yeah, he's got the dog stand, and it's Peter Billingsley's coach. I can't remember his name. He's going to be Peter Billingsley throughout the review.
His name's Jack. I think it's got that Jack and the Beanstalk kind of feel.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, this movie's supposed to be like Jack and the Beanstalk. That's right. His name is Jack. Instead of finding magic beans, he finds a dirt bike, which, whatever. So, like, yeah, his coach is like, first of all, his coach has zero leadership skills. You're supposed to be very confident and, you know, go get him. And he's not. He's very insecure, kind of beat down. You know, and somehow one of the most attractive girls in town are still really into him. Yeah,
that was fucking the weirdest part. The lady who pretty much runs the bank for like Captain Republican, Mr. Moneybags, you know, and whatnot. This lady's just like, and then she's coaching like the other Little League team, and it's like, well, those ones, but it's like, yeah, she for some reason has this attraction to this guy because this guy is like, he probably dropped out of school at like 7th grade. Got, you know, once again, who knows how he got that money to get the hot dog stand started? you know, there was no like real like positive like characteristics from him. There's no real like building whatnot. It's like, who knows? So confused.
At least not in the beginning.
Yeah. I mean, he's a nice guy. It's about the only thing going for him.
So this is where we're going to enter Captain Republican here. So first of all, you first meet him. He shows up at the Little League game. Why? I mean, I know he sponsors the team. He's got a bank. He's Hodgkins Bank.
Uh-huh.
He's Mr. Hodgkins. And, you know, he's all about money. Ultra capitalism, which I'm, you know, make all the money you want, but this guy's a douche, you know.
Yeah.
You know, some rich people are assholes. And he shows up at the game, and it's just your typical kids movie bad guy. He's got money. He's trying to take away whatever. You know, Goonies are trying to take over the neighborhood, and they're trying to take away the dog stand or the dog house, right? The dog house. And he's the douchebag. He's the bad guy. And it's just kind of, the rest of the plot kind of sets up kind of weird because it seems like a separate story going on. And Peter Billingsley's mom tries to go to the bank to get a job, and he just interrupts and goes in with his magic dirt bike. Well, actually, the dirt bike goes in there.
Yeah, the dirt bike makes all these decisions.
The dirt bike cares way like a lot more about this than anybody else does.
You know what? This dirt bike is like Tyler Durden in a Fight Club. It's like that's like the personality the dirt bike has. Like, let's get stuff done. Let's be chaotic. Let's be violent.
Which is even lines up with my point that this movie, what should have happened is either A, the dirt bike wasn't really the motivating factor behind all this. Peter Billingsley was, or Jack was.
Yeah.
And that would have been really cool. I'm like, oh man, what a twist. He's actually batshit crazy, but he got shit done. Or the dirt bike doesn't exist at all, and he's just this crazy ass kid running around town. That would have made this movie so great.
There's no motorcycle. I love that one. Just at the very end of the movie, it cuts and it just shows what people really see, and it's like there's no bike. Just him running at high speed with his arms out. Just like, what's that kid doing at 2 a.m?
He wakes up in rehab. He's like, what happened? And then he's like, and then he flashes back and the old guy comes around the tree again, except he offers him drugs this time. And he's like, that's what happened.
And then he wakes up in that guy's basement. It goes real dark at the end.
Yeah. Like,
he's literally just been tied up down there for 7 years.
Yeah. Our movie's so much better. And then at the end, Nancy Reagan comes on and said, don't do drugs, kids. Yeah, this movie, man.
Well, that's the thing too is then you get Mr. Moneybags too, and then you realize he has like everything wrong. It's like when he's trying to hire the secretary or whatever job he's getting, he's just hiring all on looks, and he has that creepy thing where it's like, "Hey, Missy, you want to come over to my house for dinner later?"
So rapey.
Yeah, it's rapey as could be. Like, even to the point where like when one of the girls like escapes later on, like she's like in there trying to escape, and the motorcycle comes and distracts him and whatnot, and then when she breaks through the window and leaves, he straightens his tie. He's like, I should put bars in the windows next time. It's like, oh, God. Yeah. Once again, kids movie.
Yeah, it's like at one point the girl's trying to leave. Peter Billingsley, Jack shows up at his house, and he's like trying to have a talk with this guy. He already pissed off Mr. Moneybags once, but going to the bank with the dirt bike. Then he shows up. He's like, "Hey, let's be civil about this. Let's have a talk about Mike's dog stand, and we'll have a meeting." And he agrees to it just to get the kid to go away. And during that time, the woman's trying to leave the room, and he sees the dog on her, and that dog shuts the door. And then it's just so rapey.
Well, it's even that part too. The whole thing too is that Jack, his mom says like, "Okay, Jack, you gotta do things by the book. That's how you get things done in life," which gives a really weird moral lesson in this film, where it's just like, "Okay, I'll do it by the book." He puts a little suit on and whatnot. He's like, "I'm gonna go do it. We're gonna start a business meeting, and it's gonna all work out." And then of course, when that business meeting falls through and whatnot, it's like, "Oh, well, we gotta go next. We gotta do what the bike says. The bike says break all the rules. Who cares who gets hurt along the way?"
You got to be a rebel to get things done in this town, Mr. Peter Billingsley. We forgot to mention, though, Mr. Rapey tried to hit on Jack's mom also. So it makes it extra douchey.
And the weird thing, too, is Jack even knew, because when she's like, the mom even mentioned something. She's like, "Oh, well, he didn't want to hire me for my skills." And then, Jack's all like, "Oh, that again." Like, what's a common issue for this lady?
What is going on? This little town is a little scary. He's like the Harvey Weinstein of this little town.
He so is.
He really is. And he's just got it. So he's rapey, he's weird, but he plays the character well. He's probably the best, he's the only decent actor in the movie, actually.
Yeah, no, he chews up the scenery for sure.
Oh, yeah. It's like over the top, ridiculous. It's perfect for a kid's film. But also, now, I got to get to my favorite part of this movie. My favorite thing about this movie. I don't laugh out loud when I'm watching stuff, but I did this time because the biker gang that shows up at the weirdest times. It makes no sense. So the first time he runs into him, the night he finds out the dirt bike is alive or self-aware. When he finds out the dirt bike's self-aware, the dirt bike has them fly across. I think where are they at? Los Angeles, or I don't know. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
flies across town.
It's the 80s. It could be Los Angeles or it could be Minnesota. I'm never too sure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like the dirt bike flies, which is a power it uses not nearly often enough as it should.
Oh, you know what? Sorry, it is Los Angeles because when the bike flies, they fly over Los Angeles. Now that I remember.
Yeah.
So it's some weird suburb off of there that could be Los Angeles, Minnesota, for all I know.
So he goes to this park, and then randomly he's like looking up at an American flag. I'm like, oh, here's your Ronald Reagan moment. And then these dirt bikes, like these motorcycles, these Harley guys come across the bridge, and they're like, yeah, fuck this kid, and they're all pissed off, and they're rude to him, and he gets away, and they're like, how did he do that? That part was weird. But the next time we see them, he's walking out of Mr. Republican's house, and as he's walking out, they just show up in his yard.
Yeah, that part, I was like, where did those guys come from? Like, because it's like, we don't know. Later on, they all kind of tie around to like Mr. Moneybags and everything like that because he like gets, because Max is apparently like cousins or something to, Big Slime or whatever the main biker's name was, which oddly was actually going to be played by Kramer almost at one point from Seinfeld.
Oh, that would have been awesome.
But whatever, the guy who plays him though does a pretty good job too. It's just so weird and goofy. But I just love how these bikers just have this utmost rage for this 10-year-old boy.
And his dirt bike.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was like, I feel like there was some type of like subtle, maybe, what's the word I'm looking for? A subliminal kind of messaging there with the dirt bikes versus the Harleys, because the dirt bike is like an Asian dirt bike.
It's a Yamaha.
And it's a Yamaha. And the first time you see the motorcycle crew, they go over a ridge and there's like American flag there. And I'm like, oh, is that what this is? I don't know if that was intentional. I don't want to give this film credit for being that deep, but it seemed like that's what they were going for. But like the thing is, I thought the second time I saw the dirt bike gang, I'm like, okay, they already know Mr. Moneybags. They're like his henchmen. Yeah. They're like his guys, like, go do this, you do my dirty work, yada, yada, yada. They don't meet till later in the movie. So while they were in this guy's yard.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Just what are they doing there? Because the weird thing is Max, the bully of the movie, is the one who introduces them all together. Yeah.
It's odd. And they show up at the school at one point, and when they're in a fenced-in area.
Yeah.
So the motorcycles come around, but they're like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah, like
I don't know.
The biker guys, they must have magic motorcycles too. That's all I know.
Yeah. I don't know. That whole thing, that was the worst executed part of this film, and that's saying something. I don't think this film's terrible. I mean, I think it's a good kids movie.
Yeah, I thought it was fun. That's for sure. It's definitely fun.
It's definitely fun. Sometimes not intentionally. The acting is bad, even for kid acting. Like I'm talking Jake Lloyd level kid acting. And I hate to bash Jake Lloyd because he's had enough of it. But damn, it was all around, with the exception of Mr. Republican and the mom.
Yeah,
everybody was pretty bad.
Yeah, they definitely, everybody kind of has that stilted. I mean, once you kind of learn it's a Roger Corman film, then you're kind of like, oh, well, or Roger Corman's wife film. It's like one of those ones where it's like, oh, okay, well, now I understand. It's like a B movie of like a kid's family movie, I guess is what we're going with. Though I will say, production-wise, nothing about it really ever seems like, I mean, like, I would have never questioned it. It just feels kind of and about the ballpark as other stuff. I mean, not... it's not Goonies level of like quality, but it's like you can see where it is kind of like that second rung type film.
Yeah. I have to say this now. I hate to give them credit, Amazon, but they put these movies on there that you've never heard of. They're really good about finding like some obscure stuff. Like, hey, this one has Peter Billingsley in it, but it's not a Christmas Story. Check this out. This one has Nicole Kidman when she's 16, riding BMX bikes in Australia. They find cool stuff and put it on there. But not only that, it seems like when they end up on Amazon Prime, they are a much better quality. Like they look good.
Yeah.
Like this film, like there was no reason to put money into this film ever again, but they did. It looked great quality. So I'll give Amazon credit on that one. The Prime service, they really do a good job with these like movies that you wouldn't usually get a chance. There's movies on there you may have not seen since you had a chance to see, since you could rent them at a video store in the 90s. So,
yeah. Well, that's why I've really been digging Prime in like the last year or so. I'm like, they actually have a lot of old movies on there, because that's always my kind of complaint to like Netflix and so on, is that like mostly like the oldest movie you'll see on there is like the 90s, and it's like late 90s too.
Yeah.
That like very rarely do you find stuff before that unless it's just a certain film. It's not common to find 70s and back, or even sometimes even 80s movies are just kind of rare on there. But Amazon's great. I mean, you can find things from like the 10s all the way on up, and it's kind of neat that way.
Yeah, I mean, there's some of those other free services like Tubi and Pluto, and even the Roku channel has some good stuff from now and then. But Amazon, this is where we watch this movie. This is where we watch BMX Bandits. So if you're looking for some weird stuff, but like in a good quality, like I was Chopping Mall on there, and it looked great.
Yep, that produced by the same lady as this movie. The Dirt Bike
exactly. I don't know. They must have struck a deal with the Cormans at some point in time, or the estate, to make all this stuff look really good. But hey, so basically this movie essentially ends up being about Jack trying to keep his bipolar dirt bike from causing him any more trouble. His dirt bike has an agenda. And the dirt bike doesn't even need the kid, really.
No, the dirt bike can actually like operate all by itself, and just for some reason, like it needs the magic of a child's like heart or something like that. Like something darker and deeper. Because this dirt bike, though it's a magic dirt bike, this is the dirt bike that would lead a kid to go kill like somebody else. You know what I mean? Like this dirt bike doesn't have any qualms about about what it does, as long as it needs to get something done. Like I think if this bike was left, if this bike was left to do whatever it exactly want, it would have killed Mr. Moneybags and been like, problem solved, Jack. Problem solved. The hot dog stand will go on longer for you.
As a matter of fact, okay, look at the first half hour of Terminator 2. Okay, now pretend Arnold Schwarzenegger doesn't come from there's no Terminator or T-1000, but instead the Terminator is the dirt bike, and that's basically what this movie's like. It's just like weird.
The T-1000 is the biker gang.
Oh yeah, exactly. Oh yeah. So this movie, this Terminator 2 before Terminator 2. It's I don't know. You see a lot of like E.T. in it. It's trying to be one of those Spielberg classics. It's trying to be that thing, and it just. I mean, granted, it doesn't have the budget of those, so I think for the budget that it had, it was done pretty well. But there was just some weird ideas in there. Another thing that was weird, and it reminded me of actually Prince of Darkness, was the scene where he's in his bedroom, and so he and the dirt bike have a fight, and Mom's like, "What's wrong?" Like, me and the dirt bike had a fight. He's like, "Okay, well, not really." He doesn't say that, but that is what's wrong.
Yeah.
So he goes up to his room, tears up his bicycle dirt bike magazines, and he's sleeping, and all of a sudden his TV comes on, and he's getting a transmission from the dirt bike.
Outside, and the dirt bike's just like revving up to like power. It's like just out there. It's probably some guy asleep. Like, Jesus Christ, that kid in that motorcycle at 2 a.m. again.
Yeah, the dirt bike uses those magic powers for the night because it falls asleep after that to send this message through his television that he should go to the school and break into the bank.
Yeah, using like old school internet. You know what I mean? Like 80s internet. Yeah. Go in there, because that's the other thing too, is he goes in there, like there's so many crimes. I mean, granted, I guess you can say the kid's fighting against the power, but he is breaking a lot of rules and a lot of laws and whatnot to do this. So the kid busts in there, and then of course he takes his pervy friend Bo in there and whatnot to go like hack. He's like, because that's what we learned early on, that he was ace at, like, not Bo, but Peter whatnot was ace at like computer science. So of course he's able to hack in there. So he goes to the bank, and then of course Bo sits down. He's like, dude, you failed. He's like, yeah, whatever. He's like, remember Miss Grendel or whatever? I'm gonna give her $1 million. Like, dude, you're gonna ruin our whole plan by doing this. Whatever. Enter.
Yeah. And it works. It's the kids movie.
And Miss Grendel, or whatever that lady's name was, she's there the next day, like, I'm like, I'm cashing my money out today. See you later. Fuck you all. This is the other part I remember. Okay, at some point, the motorcycle gets arrested. And this is what I love most than anything else. They take the motorcycle in the paddy wagon, and they put him in jail, but they put the motorcycle in like a regular human cell with a bunch of other inmates.
That's the thing. That needs to be addressed. I'm so glad you brought that up because I laughed at that.
I thought that was so great.
So my thing is also, are other, like, it goes back and forth. I'm not 100% sure. Are other people starting to realize that this bike is magical and aware, and they just don't give a shit? Or are they just ignorant to the fact? Because there's certain times, like putting the bike in the jail cell, you're like, oh, well, they know this bike is up to some shit. And they all know this bike's magical. And then other times it's just like, quit talking to your bike, you idiot. Like, I can't figure out which one it is. And doesn't at the end of the movie, we'll get into the whole ending later, but the epic part where there's the match off between the bulldozer and the dirt bike, he leaves the dirt bike for a minute, right? He gets off of it. And so everybody's around watching this. So like, are people aware of this?
Yeah, this is the part I love when the dirt bike was in jail. The dirt bike had bail. They're like, right. To get the bail, if you got $100, kid, we'll let you bail this, dirt bike out, put him back on the street.
What's funny is the bail costs more than the $50 dirt bike. Yeah, that's what I thought too. And then also when he tries to I understood why it was $50 the first time because the kid didn't want it. He was treating the dirt bike like shit and like, you suck, dirt bike, even though the dirt bike was clearly outperforming all the other dirt bikes on the track. Mm-hmm. So he gets him for $50. I'm like, okay, I understand that transaction. It's weird. But he also threw in a BMX bike. But later on, when the old man says, hey, you can, deliver packages for me and get the dirt bike back because mom takes it there because she's had enough of this shit. She takes the dirt bike there. He's like, give me $50. But you are a horrible businessman. Like this movie, I guess they used that $50 thing and $100 to relate to kids who are little because it's just like, oh, I get that. Okay, this is the kind of economy I can follow right here.
Yeah.
I guess. That's the only thing I can assume.
Well, I even thought, I'm like, man, $50 for like a practically brand new motorcycle. Like, look, that motorcycle's like the same year as this movie. Like, money wasn't that much different in the 80s. I mean, even if you cut it by half, you know what I mean? That bike should still have been like $400. It's like the least, So it must have been, kid type money thing. But like, I just love how the motorcycle gets bailed out. Comes, and I love how they also even put the handcuffs on the motorcycle when they're pulling it in too, like on the handlebars. Like, And they lock the door and he gets all sad. And he's like looking down or like, we're going to post bail for this dirt bike. I'm like, what? Or do people know? But they don't. I don't know. That's the weirdest thing about this movie. Well, and that's saying something really because it's just, damn. I don't know. I really don't know. But basically the whole movie, ends up being about they're trying to keep the dog stand from being torn down and they keep getting involved back and forth with Rapey, Mr. Republican. And this dirt bike gets taken away and given back like 10 times in the movie. It's really exhausting. It's just really annoying. And then it all builds up to the end. What they find when they break into the bank's computers is that because it makes no sense why he wants to have this specific spot for his bank. He keeps saying the computer chose it. The computer knows best. It's like a total 80s thing. This is what our computer says is the best optimum spot for this endeavor. It turns out he's a lying asshole, and his real estate company is going to he's going to make money off the deal. Yeah.
That's what you need to know.
And he's going to launder some money in the process.
Yeah, he's going to launder some money in the process, and Jack figures this out. This movie's just like Jack and the Beanstalk. There's dirt bike, there's computer hacking.
There's an old man that steps out from behind a tree always.
At the very end, the old man shows back up, and I was actually legit pissed because I was so hoping that they would not address that man again. I was just hoping that character would show up once and then never again, and that would have been so great. But no, he comes back. He comes back at the very end. And there's just like BMX Bandits, there's a giant war with kids, and there's even food involved. This time it's pies. So there's one correlation between this and BMX Bandits. It's kind of the ending of the movie. There's just a bunch of kids involved and big fight. But these kids probably got paid because they all have SAG cards because it's in America.
Yeah, exactly. Even if you're working for Roger Corman, it's still going to be cheap. Or you're still going to get your money no matter what. It's not going to be that, in Australia where, they give you a pack of flour to take home and bake some goodies later on.
It's like, here's some candy and bring your dirt bike. Do we get a new dirt bike? No, you don't get a new dirt bike.
No, Yamaha gave us one.
Yeah. Yeah. This movie's weird. And, there's a lot of stuff you can nitpick. Like the flying shots are hilarious where he's flying across the city. It's the way they do it. Like he just zooms past really quick and it looks horrible. I can't even explain.
They almost sort of take the Christopher Reeve Superman thing. It's just like, we can apply. Because I think that was the thing is once Christopher Reeve Superman came out, people are like, shit, we could apply that to a lot of things. You know what I mean?
Oh,
I think that was what everybody saw, watched it. He was like, well, how are you going to do that shot when he's flying across Christopher Reeve Superman way? So, okay. I can get behind. It's probably even easier on a motorcycle. You literally just have the kids sit up there and just, whoa, as he's like on wires and whatnot. Like, there's the bank.
They literally only did it once.
Yeah,
because it was the same shot, and they just did it in different ways.
Like, it's kind of weird, too, to think about, like, he has that one flying moment in there, and I mean, I think that's just one of those ones, like, a lot of stuff in this movie is not, like, if you watch it as an adult, yeah, it is kind of goofy and out there. I think it's that thing as a kid. It definitely targets that, like, wouldn't that be so cool if your motorcycle could fly? Like, you know what I mean? Like, don't question it. Just like, because your kid, you'd be like, yeah, that would be amazing. If I could fly, I could do anything. It'd be like that kid where, like, I used to always be, there'd always be that kid in class be like, man, if I had an X-Wing, I would fly it to school every day. And he'd be like, if you had an X-Wing, why would you even come to school? I would never come to school again if I had an X-Wing.
I'd go once.
Yeah, like, maybe once, just like a pass by. Like I'll Tom Cruise it. You know what I mean? I'll fucking
yeah, buzz the tower.
It's just right as the principal's drinking his coffee, he's like, oh, spills it all over himself. Just be like, doesn't question that an X-Wing just flew by real fast, but take that, Michael Ironside.
I'm so tired. Because I literally finished this movie. It took me all day to finish it because I kept having to pause it because my kids being, a 1-year-old. And I finished it maybe 10 minutes before you messaged me like, hey, we're about ready to record. I'm like, yeah. But damn, this movie is odd. I had fun with it. It's not BMX Bandits. It wasn't as good as that. No, it's what I thought BMX Bandits was going to be. There's not as much heart into it. It's just some scenes are cut very weird. It's like something's happening. They're setting up a thing, and then they'll cut to the next thing. Like, oh, this is happening now. You're taking like the bikes in the back of a car all of a sudden taken somewhere. Like it's just very abrupt. Sometimes it's really weird. I think even as a kid, I would have been like, what? This is messed up. Like, I don't like how this kind of feels out of order, but I can't say I would recommend it unless you just really, really love watching weird shit like we do.
Yeah, because that's what I feel too. It's like one of those ones, like I had fun with it. Like it gave me a lot of laughs, and in fact, just feel just this conversation itself makes it so much worthwhile to watch it because it's like almost like there's so much fun, goofy, weird stuff happening in this film that's what I almost kind of really enjoy about it. I mean, I'll even say this. The ending also is about a super happy ending as possible. Like when you think of like Wayne's World, they're like, let's do the super happy ending. That is so what this movie is. Like everything in this movie, like everything's like, we saved the hot dog stand guy. He gets to live his dream. You know what I mean? Like he gets married to the hot chick in town that like quit the bank, and she's gonna work for the hot dog. Why is she giving up her life for like to work at the? I mean, I guess it's better than working with Mr. Rapey, but.
Yeah.
No, really, after Mr. Rapey, the hot dog stand guy looks like a real nice fella.
Yeah. And she's already knocked up, by the way. She's got a bun in the oven.
Yeah, just
so the hot dog guy.
You know, it's one of those ones like right away. Not from Mr. Rapey, but from the hot dog stand guy. Just
Yeah.
And then it's like even everything too. Even Bo comes out. He's like, "Dude, I got 2 chicks at once. I'm 10 years old."
It was an Adam Sandler ending. Like that's what UHF was. Because this movie kind of reminded me of UHF in a weird way. Like I don't know why, because there's nothing similar about them in terms of the plot. Mm-hmm. But the ending was, and I call it the Adam Sandler ending, where like not the bad guy gets like shit on at the end, mm-hmm. but like multiple times. Like not only does he have to go to the ceremony to do the Mike's dog stand, but he's got dressed as a hot dog, mm-hmm. A hot dog, dressed in a hot dog suit, and it's in front of his bank, and somebody makes fun of him, and he has to do a speech, and then the dirt bike chases him. Like all these bad things happen, and then all the good characters like have really, really great scenarios. The mom gets a job. Jack, well, no, I don't really know. I guess Jack just finds himself.
Jack just, I guess it's what he's like, I got my hot dog stand back. Like, that's literally what this was. Like, he's just one of those ones who's like, I just want a motorcycle and a hot dog stand. You know what? Since my motorcycle's like all done now and the magic's gone, here, you could take it. And he just gives it to some other kid. He's like, wow, magic. And then the old man steps up from behind the tree. He's like, that's right, Billy. Magic. You know where else there's magic? Follow me, Billy. Here, hold my hand. I'll lead you to my van in the back.
Yeah, like who made this old man the guy who decides what happens with this dirt bike? Because he didn't consult Jack at all. He didn't say, "Hey, man, you know what? You've had a good run with this bike. I think your life's in a better place right now. I think you found some confidence in yourself. Let's give it to this new kid." No, he just takes initiative, and because Jack had to buy that dirt bike.
Yeah.
He had to kind of work for it. This kid just walks up and takes it.
Yeah, this kid, who is this kid? I don't know this kid. I wouldn't just let him take it. Like, he hasn't earned it yet. You know, he wasn't going to the motorcycle races to blow his, like, family fortune.
Man, I would love... Is there a sequel?
I don't think there is. I almost wish that old man, I know this they would never before, it was like Scatman Crothers, and he was playing the same character from, like, the Twilight Zone one. You know, they're like, let's all play kick the can. Because you know how that one he just travels to old folks' homes and pretty much just says like, you're like, hey, we're just gonna go like take you back to your youth. Be like, oh, okay. He's like, I'm gonna go and find myself a little boy who needs a motorcycle of magic.
Having Scatman Crothers in it would have really taken this to another level. Damn, this movie could have been a horror movie when you think about it.
Well, this almost could have been, because that motorcycle was like, that could have been one of those ones where it's like, oh man, I got the coolest motorcycle ever. It's magic. It talks to me. Its eyes move around like short circuit. But then as the thing goes on, it's like, oh, the motorcycle's killing people in the middle of the night. Like, almost like you could have one of those kind of movies where like the kid, like say like the kid gets beat up at school by the bully, and then he comes home. He's like, man, I really hate Tommy. He's such a jerk. Boo, 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 boo. And then the motorcycle in the middle of the night goes and like brutally murders Tommy and whatnot. And then the next day they're like, oh, Tommy was found like, you know, sliced to death from like, you know, I don't know, like a chain or something like that. Like he was literally cut by the chain of like the motorcycle.
There's nothing but blood, guts, and tread marks all over this.
Yeah. And then just as the thing goes on, it's almost like the motorcycle is acting out like what the kid really wants to happen, but wouldn't do because he has like moral like opposition to it. Like you could go so many ways with the magic motorcycle.
Well, I mean, even the kids' movies in the 80s were cocaine fever dreams, you know? Mm-hmm. Even the kids' movies. I don't know. But, that's the Dirt Bike Kid. It's on Amazon Prime if you want to go check it out. This movie sold a lot of VHS copies, about 100,000, so it did pretty decent. Yeah. And I was reading they used to show this on Disney Channel in the 90s. I don't know. So
I can see that.
People have seen it. Yeah.
Because this movie would, you know, at that time period, it wouldn't have been anything out of the, you know, it would have been normal as all anything else, you know. Would have fit in fine.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's just now you kind of look at it, it's got some kind of goofy things in it, but it's almost like, at the same time, at the end of the day, like, if you're a kid, shit, I mean, I want a magic motorcycle. If someone said, like, hey, Wes, guess what? There's this motorcycle. This old man came up from behind a tree. He's like, hey, Wes, I heard you want a magic motorcycle. Well, there's just one thing you got to do. Follow me to my van. And they'd be like, well, if I get a magic motorcycle out of it, I guess it's worth it. But still, think at the end of the day, if you had a magic motorcycle that you could fly you around and do your dirty work for you, and then like, you know, when you know, things got tough, it kind of came in, and even if it went to jail, it would still bail its way out.
What's this old man look like? Is he
He looks just like the old man in the movie. Just like that guy.
Okay.
Beard
Just
and
that guy,
everything.
yeah.
Kind of like he could be a lumberjack, you know, in his youth.
I don't know. He looked like that guy went to some Grateful Dead concerts. 100%.
You know,
100%.
Filling in for some Jerry Garcia moments, but
yeah, which I mean, I'm all for, but
you know, so I just think that's the thing about this movie is like it does carry that, like, even if you might think it's kind of a goofy concept, at the end of the day, you're like, who doesn't want a magic motorcycle? Let's be honest.
Yeah. If you look at it from that perspective, it was kind of fun. I'm not even going to bother rating this one. It's not for me. I'm not the target demographic. But man, I had fun making fun of it. It's not good. It's not a good film, but it's not terrible either. So just kind of, you know, I think if you're 10, 11, 12, I would love this as a kid.
Oh yeah.
I watched the Buttercream Gang. Yeah. Oh yeah. Hey, have you ever seen the Buttercream Gang?
I don't think I ever have. I know of it, but I have never seen it.
We need to redo that. I think it was like a focus on the family kind of movie, and I think that maybe have been like produced by like a Christian organization. Which I'm not putting all that stuff down. I'm just saying those movies don't tend to be very good. But they used to show that one in school all the time, and so we need to go back and look at that. But anyway, Dirt Bike Kid, Peter Billingsley, he's in it. I don't want to say a kid has a punchable face. I don't want to say it, but he might. He has the same glasses from A Christmas Story. As a matter of fact, even in Iron Man and Spider-Man Homecoming, and not Homecoming, but Far From Home.
Far From Home.
Yeah, he has the same glasses. So I don't know. I guess it's just that's his thing. So well, anyway, we got more stuff coming up. Twister. I think we're going to try to get Twister in there. And another real quick housekeeping thing. I don't yet have all this stuff figured out with the audio, but by Twister, I should have it figured out. So we'll be ready, ready to go. So that's good. And there you go.
Sounds like a plan.
Any last words before we get out of here?
No, I just said the Dirt Bike Kid, I think it's just a fun romp. That is the best way to describe it. Fun, because fun could mean a lot of things. Fun doesn't mean that's necessarily a great movie, but it just means like you do have a fun time the whole way through. There's never really a dull moment in that movie, and you do walk away with some stuff where you're like, dude, remember that goofy part? Remember that part where they arrested the motorcycle? Remember when he did this? Like, remember when those biker gang just showed up out of the hedges? Like, what was that all about? You know what I mean? Like, you leave with a lot of, like, almost smiles on your face from this movie, whether or not they were intentional for that kind of stuff.
No, they weren't. This is like some of the commercials that Alex and I made back in the day. I don't know, but anyway, so yeah, find I need to put a link for Pizza Boys down below so you can find out Pizza Boys with a Z. Obviously, Old Man Orange Podcast. That's your other endeavor. And find Via VHS on Twitter at Via VHS. Find me on Instagram at Via VHS Pod. More stuff coming on the way. Hope to do tons of these episodes. I'm having fun talking these movies with Spencer. So anyway, thanks for listening, and Via VHS is out.